In an underground facility of a morgue, a senior pathologist complains about the cleanliness of the room. He tells the associate to dump the chemicals in the sink as they are covered in dust. The man looks at him in shock, as this would be a clear violation of the law. The chief scientist threatens him with termination, forcing him to pour the numerous bottles into the sewage. Over time, people begin to notice strange creatures in the lake, but they pay no attention to the possible consequences. An employee plans to commit suicide by jumping into the river, but before he does, he notices a large shadow in the water. Seeing that his colleagues are unaware of the danger, he says goodbye and jumps. Gangdu is the son of a convenience store owner and is not very good at his job, always sleeping. His father, He Bong, is dissatisfied with him and tells him to wake up and take care of the customers. Although Gangdu is lazy and useless, he loves his daughter very much, even though she has a very low opinion of her father, just like everyone else. They watch television together and cheer for Gangdu's sister, Namju, who is the national archery champion competing for first place. Suddenly, a news report appears showing the body of the aforementioned employee, but half of the body is missing, as if something had bitten it before it died. Hebong tells his son to go out and get back to work as customers are complaining about their orders. Gangdu delivers food to people, but notices that everyone is staring intently at the river. They see a strange creature under the bridge and wonder what it could be. The animal starts to move, eventually falling into the water. The people move closer to the riverbank, and Gangdu throws a beer can at the creature, which quickly takes it underwater. Everyone starts throwing trash into the river as well, and soon the creature disappears, leaving only the trash in the water. Just when Gangdu is about to leave, he sees the enormous creature on the shore, charging at people and knocking them into the river. Everyone runs in panic as the monster continues to trample the spectators and attack them ferociously. Gangdu tries to warn people to run, but is knocked down by the giant beast. The creature begins to run toward the population center, while everyone flees, looking for shelter. The monster crashes into a mobile container full of people, turning the shelter into a huge lunchbox as it devours everyone inside. An American soldier tries to free the people along with Gangdu, but the monster exits the now blood-filled room. They chase the monster and do their best to stop its destruction, but almost die when the soldier is severely injured by the creature. Gangdu tries to save the man by hitting the monster on the tail, but the attacks are ineffective as the creature turns and forces Gangdu to flee quickly. Hyun leaves the convenience store looking for her father, only to see that everyone has vanished. Gangdu quickly grabs his daughter and runs for safety, but in the chaos, realizes he has grabbed the wrong person. The man turns and sees the monster running towards his daughter, taking her away. The creature jumps into the river and swims to the other side. Gangdu tries to chase after it, but watches helplessly as his daughter is taken into the water. The armies soon arrive to block the area, and people mourn the death of their families as a large community funeral occurs at the shelter. Hyun's uncle, Nam Il, also arrives with tears in his eyes after hearing about his niece's death. The family embraces each other as they fall to the ground in sorrow. But instead of helping them, reporters surround them and begin taking photos like vultures. A government official in a biohazard suit arrives to inform the people and asks about those who had physical contact with the creature. People are afraid to admit their involvement, but after being questioned repeatedly, some raise their hands, including Gangdu, fearing legal repercussions. More workers in yellow suits start running toward the building, trying to quarantine the families. They forcibly take Gangdu away while his family pleads for them to stop. It turns out that the American soldier who helped Gangdu survived the monster attack, but soon fell ill after being infected with a virus that the creature carries. The government is withdrawing its military forces and sending specialized teams trained to deal with virus outbreaks. Meanwhile, Gangdu and his family arrive at the hospital, but are shocked to see the lack of quarantine measures, as even the doctors are not wearing masks. That night, the father receives a call that he immediately recognizes as his daughter. Gangdu tries to ask where she is, but the signal suddenly cuts out while the rest of the family also wakes up. The monster continues to attack humans, killing quarantine workers and taking them back to its nest inside the sewers, where it stores them as food for later. Hyun, who is still alive, crawls out of a sewer opening and examines the worker that the creature brought, but the man has drowned, coughing up water from his lungs. The girl manages to find a cell phone on the body, but it no longer works after being submerged in the river. Back at the hospital, Gangdu tries to convince the police that his daughter is alive, but the officer thinks the man is crazy and asks the doctor to perform a psychiatric evaluation. Realizing that his daughter may start to starve, the family tries to sneak out of the hospital. But they are immediately recognized because of Gangdu's blonde hair. They run towards the elevator and then to the parking lot, where a vehicle driven by gangsters has been arranged to pick them up. The family successfully escapes from the hospital while the police desperately chase them on foot. After their escape, the gangsters charge the old man a hefty sum for rescuing them, providing them with weapons and a government vehicle so they can blend in. Hee-bong has no choice but to give them all his savings, including his credit cards. They drive toward a police checkpoint and try to pass through, but a police captain recognizes them as fugitives from the hospital. With no other choice, Hee-bong bribed the officer with the only money they have. The family begins to search for Hyun within all the sewer systems they find on the maps they received, but the area is too large to cover, and they have no idea where the girl is. Nam-il complains that they will never find their niece this way, as they are searching blindly, but his sister tells him to stop complaining as they have no other options. Suddenly, the family notices something moving ahead and prepares their weapons to shoot. Nam-ju feels water dripping from the ceiling, and they fire several times, only to realize it was nothing. However, it turns out there are two other boys hiding next to the walls, and they escape from the sewers after nearly being killed by the family. The two boys are homeless, and the older brother decides to steal food from the nearest convenience store, which happens to be the one Gangdu owns at the beach. The younger brother, Si-ju, wants to take his money too, but his brother stops him and says that it's wrong, as they're just taking the things they need to survive. They leave with bags of food after rummaging through the stock, only to see the monster charging toward them from under the bridge. The two quickly run back to the shelter, but the monster closely pursues them as the boys desperately run for their lives. Moments later, Hee-bong returns to the store and sees that the doors have been broken down. He does not pay it any mind, and the family continues to dine while imagining that Hyun was there with them too. Meanwhile, the girl is trying to survive by gathering water from the sewers, but sees the monster approaching and quickly pretends to be dead. The creature releases the boys it had captured earlier, and Hyun notices that the younger brother is still alive. She does her best to save the boy and protect him from the creature. After some time, Gangdu notices the creature standing outside the store, and the father tries to shoot the monster, but ends up missing. He runs toward them and starts pushing the structure, toppling the whole place as the father keeps shooting. After the monster stops, the family comes out only to see it lying on the ground, apparently injured from the shots. The uncle shoots at the monster, which causes it to run toward the river while the family continues their chase. However, they quickly run out of bullets as the creature leaps into the river. Hee-bong tells everyone to stay back while Gangdu hands his father the gun with the final bullet. The monster starts swimming toward the family again as Nam-ju tries to shoot it with her arrows. The creature charges at the old man, and he fires the gun, but it turns out Gangdu miscalculated, and there was nothing to shoot. Hee-bong turns and calmly tells his family to run as the creature stomps on him. It grabs Hee-bong by the leg and knocks him to the ground while everyone watches helplessly. Gangdu runs toward his father's lifeless body and cries in agony, but they cannot stay there for long, as the police are coming in their direction too. He tells the brothers to flee in search of Hyun and covers his father's face with a newspaper. Gangdu also tries to leave, but cannot overcome his pain and is captured by the police. That night, the uncle goes to a friend who works at the phone company. They sneak into the office building and start locating Hyun's last call. They manage to find her location, but the friend enters the manager's office and reveals that he has betrayed the man by informing the police to collect the reward. Nam-il sees the people behind him, quickly turns off the lights, escapes the office, and locks his pursuers inside. He escapes the building but sees that the police are also after him. In a state of panic, he jumps under the bridge and avoids detection. The uncle calls the sister and sends the location of Hyun before collapsing from pain due to the fall. Namju sees her brother's message and quickly runs toward the sewer where her niece is. She goes under the bridge and heads for the entrance while calling out to Gangdu about her location. Suddenly, she sees the monster charging toward her and tries to shoot, but is knocked down into the ditches, preventing her from being reached by the beast. After being informed about her daughter's location, Gangdu tries to escape the hospital, but is stopped by the doctors who keep performing painful experiments on him. The lead researcher reveals that there is no virus, and that the government is simply using this to distract people from the origins of the monster. Gangdu overhears the conversation, leading the doctors to lobotomize him to silence him. On the other side, Hyun tries to comfort the boy by asking him to think about what they will eat after they get out. She makes a rope with the clothes of the victims and ties a police baton to the end. The girl throws the rope to the platform and manages to make a rope ladder. Before they can escape, the monster returns, forcing them to hide. The two watch in disgust as the creature begins to vomit up the bones of all the humans it has devoured. The monster notices the children and tries to capture them, but fails as they hide within the walls. At the same time, Gangdu takes a doctor hostage as he runs outside the building, only to see that the police are relaxing and having a barbecue as if they were on vacation. He takes a vehicle, threatening to kill the hostage, and speeds toward his daughter's location. Namil also wakes up after being saved by a homeless man and manages to convince him to help save his niece. They use alcohol bottles to make several Molotov cocktails, preparing to fight the monster to the death. Hyun wakes up after hiding from the creature's attacks and notices that the boy is getting sick. She peeks outside and sees that the monster is sleeping. The girl tries to run for the ropes, but is quickly ambushed by the beast, which grabs her and puts her back on the ground. She also sees the boy outside and runs toward him, trying to save his life as the monster chases them from behind. Gangdu arrives at the nest only to see that it is full of bones and that his daughter is nowhere to be found. Suddenly, he sees the monster pass overhead with an arm dangling from its mouth and begins to chase it with his sister, who has also woken up. They follow the creature as it swims in the river toward a group of protesters on the shore, complaining about the quarantine and illegal experiments. However, people quickly notice the monster approaching and flee in panic as they escape the area. The police begin shooting at the creature as it comes ashore, while the army positions chemicals closer to the monster. They release the gas into the area, which stuns the creature as it struggles in pain. Gangdu runs toward the mouth of the monster and tries to pull his daughter out. He manages to extract the girl who is still holding the boy she was trying to protect, and realizes that his daughter has been dead for a long time. Gangdu carries the girl toward the family, and everyone cries as they embrace the lifeless body of Hyun. And the man decides to take revenge for his daughter, beginning to attack the monster with a metal pole. Namil also tries to help and throws the Molotov cocktails at the creature, scaring it off but not managing to hit. The homeless man sneaks up on the creature and begins pouring gasoline on it, while Nam-il watches in confusion. Nam-ju readies her lit arrow and shoots it at the monster, coating it in flames. In a moment of chaos, the monster tries to return to the water but is fatally stabbed by Gangdu, who is hiding behind the posts. The creature falls with its last breath and dies as it burns. Gangdu realizes that the boy his daughter was trying to protect is still alive and takes him to safety while observing the aftermath of the chaos. Sometime later, Gangdu adopts the boy as his own son, and the two have dinner while the news criticizes the government for its actions. They continue to reside in the convenience store by the river as the snow falls, indicating that winter is coming.